Good morning, students. So today we come to the end and final part of the chapter population. Today we will be talking about the characteristics of population. Characteristics means the features of the population. All countries do not have the same features. Every country has different characteristics of the population, which we will be learning in the later part of the topic. So, the population of a region comprises of male and female, young and old, working and dependent. So, the proportions of different categories of people in a population help us to understand the qualities of that population. So this is one feature of the population, and that is age composition. What does the population of a country comprises as far as the age composition is taken into consideration? Now, the population of a country comprises of three broad categories. That is, people, children who are under the age of 15, the working population, which is coming under the age of 15 to 64, and the retired population, which comprises of men and women who are above the age of 65. So, the age composition of the population of any country can be divided into three basic categories. Now, the relatively advanced countries, they have people who are aged above 65 and more in a population than less advanced countries have. That is, in many advanced countries, because of better medical facilities and better environment, we find that the life expectancy of the people are far higher than those in the countries which are comparatively less advanced. So here we see that in Japan, the life expectancy of an average person is that of 84 years. That is, on an average, all people in Japan live up to 84 years. They can go still higher, but on an average, we find that the people in Japan, Hong Kong, Singapore, they have got a very high expectancy thanks to the better living condition and medical facilities which we find over there. Another very important feature or characteristic of a population is the sex ratio. Now, the sex ratio gives the relative number of males and females in the population. That is, how many number of females and how many number of males we have in the population. Categorically, we must say that we should have equal number of males and females. But this is not always true. The sex ratio we find is highly skewed in most of the developing countries, including India, China, and several other Southeastern Asian countries, Latin American countries, and African countries, where we find that the number of females per 1,000 males are very less. In most Asian countries, including India, there are more males than females. And this is largely due to the general neglect of females throughout the continent, leading to their early deaths. According to 2011 census, there are about 940 females per 1,000 males. Now, this is in contrast to the situation in developed nations, where females have a higher life expectancy and generally they outnumber the males. In India, except Kerala, all states have got a highly skewed female-male ratio. That is, females are far less compared to the male population. Children aged below 15 years and old people aged 65 years usually do not contribute to any kind of production. They depend on the working population. The working population includes all those people who are working in several services sector, government sector. They can be doctors, chefs, engineers, miners. So the working population forms that group which are contributing to the gross domestic productivity of the country. However, the people who are aged less than 15 and above 65 comprise to the dependent population. Now, they are dependent because children below the age of 15, they are not to work, and people above the age of 65 normally have retired from their work. Now, the section of the working population have to support the dependent population. In most of the advanced nations of the world, the percentage of dependent population is low. Population pyramid is a diagrammatic representation of the age and sex composition of a population. And it also tells us about the birth and the death rates as well as the life expectancy. It shows the number of people or the proportion of the total population in each age group separated by males and females. There are several types of population pyramids depending upon the type of country it is. Developed countries will have a population pyramid like this, where you will find that the birth rate is very, very high. So in the y-axis, we are taking the age, while on the x-axis, we take the male and female group of the population. Now take the case of this country, that is Kenya. Here the population growth is very rapid. And what is the reason? The reason is high birth rate. If you look at the base of the pyramid, it is very broad, which is an indication that the country is having a very rapid growth. That is, more children are being born. As we move up, now this is the working population. We find that the working population is also very narrow, which is an indication that they are not having all that facilities which can provide them with a better occupation, which can lead to a better health and life standard. As a result, we find that the expectancy of life is also less. Now let's come to a country where the population pyramid is showing an altogether different ratio. Here, what do we find? That the growth rate is slow. That is, children are being born, but they are not being born at a very great pace. That means there is control over the birth of children. Working population is almost the same compared to the growing population, which is an indication that the number of children has been controlled, population is controlled, and as a result, we find that better health and life expectancy in the later stage. So if you compare the life expectancy of a country like Kenya or Nigeria to that of United States, Australia or Canada, we can see it is far higher than these countries. Now there are certain countries where we find that there is almost zero growth. What do we mean by this? Zero growth applies to a situation where the birth and the death rates are almost equal. That means that the population is growing, but it is very stable. That is, the number of people getting added and the number of people dying are almost the same. Such kind of situation prevails in countries like Denmark, Austria, Italy. Elsewhere we find there is negative growth. Now what does negative growth means? It means that the rate would be near a population size getting smaller. So the growth rate would mean that the population size is becoming smaller. If you look at the birth rate over here and the death rate, we find that it is reducing. That is, reduction in the number of people inhabiting the country. So this applies to countries like Germany, Bulgaria, Hungary, where there is a negative growth rate, which means the population size is becoming smaller and smaller. And this will ultimately reduce the number of people inhabiting the country. Now let us come to the population pyramid of India. Now if you look closely, you will find that India is also having a very high growth rate. This is the population, this is the male population. Male population is slightly higher because more people want to have a male child. And female population is also not very less either. But it is having a broad base as well as the working population, that is this part, is also having a broad area, which is an indication that due to better education and schools, colleges, so education is being provided, which has led them to have a better life. Life expectancy has also increased, and it shows that there are fewer deaths at an early age. Now, this age and sex composition of the population helps us to understand what the population will need in the future. If we have a lot of young people in the population, we need to have more schools, colleges, and ultimately they all will become a workforce. So we need to have more jobs in the society. If we find that there are more people who are old, we need to have more of hospitals and better medical facilities to provide them a better health standard. So all these statistics and population pyramid help us to manage and understand the population and also think of better ways to ensure that the population gets everything, that is, each and every person is provided with the basic necessities of life. Healthy and educated people of working age can contribute a lot towards a country's economic development. Hence, it is desirable for every country to have a large proportion of the population in this category. So they should be healthy as well as be a part of the workforce, which will provide a lot in contributing to the gross domestic productivity of the nation. Then only the nation can be able to prosper. I hope you have understood this particular chapter well, because it is not like any other geography lesson where we learn about a country, its people, and its vegetation. Whatever we have learned is related to economic, that is economy of the nation, and the economic, we call this economic geography. It has been something new to you, and we have been trying to help you to understand this better because it is a new topic for you. That is what we have enough time for today. Thank you.